So whilst I breed some wonderful species of snakes here, I also bring in other species that I want to work with, and of course I buy those as hatchlings or young snakes from other people that are really fascinated by snakes and breed some other really interesting species. So welcome back to the channel, and just enjoy this video, a little reptile room tour of our baby snakes. Not really the bigger ones that are almost reaching maturity or the larger juveniles. Just take a look and enjoy these small baby snakes that are mostly a few months to maybe 18 months old. Enjoy. Here's a lovely little snake, a Viperine snake from Europe. Very vipery looking pattern, hence the name, but it's, to us in the UK, it's just a relation of the grass snake, a natrix species, Natrix mora. Last time I found these in the wild was fishing the Rio Ebro for giant catfish. These are only little tiddlers. There's a shedded skin in there. Just growing on, they're only tiny still. But grown loads since last summer. Really hoping that these will end up in an outdoor enclosure, even if it is only for the summer. But I think these will overwinter in the UK with a good hibernaculum. So that's the plan. That's why I purchased these in the first place, was actually to house them as part of an outdoor collection. So we'll see how things evolve over this summer. Beautiful little snakes. Very tough, and to be honest, easy to keep and nice to have around. The Viperine snake. This is a normal coloured Pueblan milk snake. This was hatched here at the end of last summer. If you look in there, it's in a little rearing tub. It's quite moist. And these Pueblan milk snakes really do thrive in a slightly damp to moist substrate made of coir fibre. They make lots, as you can see, lots of tunnels beneath. And on top of that, a little bit of damp-proof membrane. And they really seem to do very well. Very fossorial. They spend most of their time sort of underground, if you like, at this stage. Obviously everything wants to eat them, and they feel very stuck. Look at that, vanished. Let's have a look at an apricot one. Look at the different imbalance. So apricot morph, the white's replaced by a, you know, an orangey yellow, dare I say, apricot colour. And again, this one's on a coir fibre. And you can see burrowing under there. So a little bit more striking with the white bands replaced with a apricot colour. Whoa, these things are flighty. And they musk all over you. Look at that. Beautiful snake. Apricot Pueblan milk snake. Every single one's different that hatches a slightly different pattern or colour. Fantastic. Lots more of these to hopefully hatch this year. 2 left at the moment, all gone otherwise. There she comes, backing out from my fingers. Look at that. Typical tail thrashing of a king snake and many other snakes. A little bit of a warning. Apricot milk snakes, beautiful. Check out my video on the Pueblan milk snake, because these things make brilliant pet snakes. Very colourful. So in here, another, you can see it's another tub, plastic enclosure. Don't care what anyone says. If they're set up right temperature gradient, these are the very best way to rear lots of small snakes. They feel much more secure, humidity is easier to manage, and believe you me, they thrive much better in this setup until they get a little bit bigger. And they certainly, the small baby snakes, do better if they're not kept bone dry. Now look at this. I've already checked this, but look at this. Somewhere to hide. Deep substrate, water area. But this little black rat snake is under here. Look at her. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. American black rat snake, and she's growing on. We've got a lovely, rather large male black rat snake, but he's going to be waiting 2 or 3 years until this little girl is up to size for any kind of rumpy pumpy, that's for sure. Really nice snakes to work with. And of course, again, being small, these things are worried about anything eating them. So don't worry if you keep a snake as your first snake and it's a hatchling or a baby snake and you don't see much of it. As these snakes mature, down to sort of 2 or 3 years down the road, and get their adult size, most of them will become much more easy to see in the vivarium. Look at it go, beautiful pattern, and this will change to a darker and darker black. And then off he goes, most disgruntled. What's this in here for? It's not a hide, it's actually to place food items on, so hopefully it doesn't get so attached to any substrate. And for the baby snakes, I much prefer the fine coir peat than this coir fibre. There is always a risk of this getting inside some of the baby snakes, depending on the species, and not being able to pass through the other end. Black rat snake. Now this is Dakota. This is a fully grown adult male black rat snake, just to give you some idea. Really sort of decent sized snake to work with. The other one, a fair bit of growing to do. Best looking of all, in a place where I can't really film. Inside its fib is probably a little baby mangrove snake who's not going to be coming out properly until darkness, but you get the idea. Look at that, a beautifully marked snake growing to around 6 to 8 feet in length, so rear fang venomous, not a snake to handle and sort of pet, a real display snake that really does like semi-arboreal vivarium to chill out in. But the mangrove snake, what a fantastic little baby that is. So under here, a wonderful snake. Oh, or not. Take 2. Under here, a wonderful snake. Black-tailed Crebo. A few months old now. Certainly not a tiny baby hatchling. But still at that stage where it likes to hide and feel more secure. That will all change as this snake grows. Part of the indigo snake group, the Drymarchon melanurus. Fantastic species. All Drymarchon are fantastic. The black-tailed Crebo, probably one of the nicest to handle, and if you wanted a real pet snake, possibly even more so than the indigo snake, dare I say. So here's a species of snake. They don't really mind what you house them in style of vivarium. They're not fussy really, but they look nice in a semi-arboreal vivarium where they can get up and climb. Look at this. This is the Russian rat snake. There's 2 in here. There's a pair, one darker and one lighter. This is the lighter one. The other one's more classic, sort of black with much more yellow patterning coming along. These have been incredibly slow growing compared to some of the yearling snakes for sure. But again, like those king snakes, get in their pattern, and it's a species that really makes a fantastic pet, a massively underrated species. If you want a cool pet snake, it gets to several feet long, certainly 5-6 feet long, and you want something that just doesn't bite, that just doesn't react, doesn't huff and puff, and is just one of those snakes that very often, as soon as you open a vivarium, certainly again once they're larger, remember these are babies or yearlings, still nervous, still got lots of predators in the wild, but a snake that'll just leave the vivarium to slither up your arm to come out and explore. Certainly a snake that sort of portrays a bit of personality and certainly sort of, for a snake, some intelligence, it seems, for sure. Russian rat snakes. I'm going to see if I can find the other one. You can see this one darker and going exactly straight back to where it came from. But more typical colouring, I'd say, almost black with lovely yellow markings. If you want something that looks a little bit like a mangrove snake that's very handleable without the venom, yeah, maybe a Russian rat snake would fit that bill. It's a really great guy. Eastern black king snake. I've got a lovely pair of these growing on, really tiny, as thick as your little finger. Just got to that stage now where they're really getting ravenous and eating one, just starting to grow. So a lot of these baby snakes, not all of them, for about a year, they can be incredibly slow growing and not really do a lot. Let's see what's in there. Any poo in there? But as they sort of hit that yearling size, those ones that do tend to really start eating and stacking on the food. Look at those beautiful patterns, and it's going to go darker and darker and darker, lose a lot of that patterning and become much more of a black king snake. I don't know if you come out the other way, if I give him a little poke. No, he won't. Eastern black is the Eastern black king snake of that pair. A beautiful snake. Come back. So certainly getting to sort of some size now. Lovely iridescence. Lovely. So you still see the sort of faded chain link pattern on their back. Look at that. Not many people in the UK seem to have these anymore. Beautiful species. And again, sort of a yearling, so it's just starting to grow really and get some size. Not fussy feeders, just a little bit on the slow growing. Certainly mine were anyway. Look at that. Really, they're not colourful, but really iridescent. It'll be a lovely snake as it gets bigger and bigger. Now here's a species well worthy of a separate video for sure. Barrens racers. Just touching the bracket for this video because these guys are about 3 feet long now. They are ultra nosy, ultra inquisitive. I mean, it's a joke. They've got a long nose and they're nosy, and they really, really are. Oh, if only that would focus. There we are. Barrens racers, a snake that very often, again, like the Russian rats, just wants to come out, crawl up your arm and kind of say hello, if that's what snakes ever do. Something that just likes to explore. Again, a sort of semi-arboreal setup really suits them, but these do get a lot more heavy-bodied than even this as they grow. And they spend a lot more of their time really on the ground now. Oh, come on, there we are. Look at that. If you look at these, they're in a tall vivarium, but they spend all their time hanging out on this shelf. I think they just get a little bit heavy-bodied and less wiry as they grow, and hanging around in trees by their tails and that kind of thing. I don't know, maybe a more terrestrial lifestyle suits these guys. Now, oh, don't stress. Okay, goodbye. They are actually rear-fanged. They are venomous. They're not DWA here in the UK. They're not recognised having a venom that's a great deal of a problem to humans. Everyone's going to be slightly different, I'm sure. All the ones I've had, personally, which is 3, are absolutely easiest going, most placid snakes you'll ever get. No problems at all when it comes to handling or aggression. In fact, they normally, come on, they normally, oh, you're in the wrong side of the camera. They normally just come straight out, and obviously because I filmed it, it went with a boing. Bless her. Typically on camera, they're going to be a little bit shy. They're really not. These are super, super nosy, easy going. Everyone should keep these. Barrens racers. If you haven't got one, look into them, and we'll do a separate video. They're that good, for sure. Here's a species that's a little bit huffy puffy, a little bit more handling than other snakes to get them calm. Not that I've ever been bitten by one. Simply, look at the pattern, by the way. This is a juvenile ladder snake, because they have a ladder-like pattern on their upper surface. There we go. And that fades to just 2 lines. You can see the crossbars are fading on this young juvenile. Young juvenile? Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. Look at that, the ladder snake. They do turn out to be quite feisty, not bitey, really lively. Almost a snake that sort of says, just don't pick me up. They start out like that, and even my adult ladder snakes are like that. But then, I don't handle my snakes very often. Most of them are naturally calm because I'm calm. Ladder snakes, definitely flighty little creatures for sure. It's gonna come out. No, it's not. Something I don't see too much of are the baby Escalating snakes. We've got 3 of these. One's a darker melanistic form, and 2 are this more sort of normal colour phase. Very slow growing. These guys. These are probably Britain's 4th species of snake, because they actually do have 2 or 3 populations wild in Britain, but they're not native, although they live in similar conditions or climate on the continent, so more than capable of surviving in Britain without actually causing any noticeable harm to native British wildlife, which makes a change for any species released or invasive that, you know, aren't original to an area. But Escalating snakes, great story behind them, and again, if you're into your snakes, a species I can't recommend highly enough. Really, really lovely, wonderful animals. Not a bad bone in their body for sure. Not that any snake has a bad bone in its body, but these guys, super, super docile and very, very pretty. Here's an absolute jewel of a snake. This is our baby Greybanded king snake. And can you believe it? One of the best looking snakes in the world. And it's just gone into blue, getting ready to shed. So all that magnificent colour contrast, totally sort of greyed or blued out, faded away. In another few days, when this little snake sheds its skin, it is going to be absolutely stunning. A real gem of a snake, an iconic species of snake amongst herpetologists, whether collectors of snakes, people that study snakes in captivity, or indeed people that like to go looking for snakes in the wild, study them there. The deserts of America, a really, really special species, really. The grey-banded king snake, it really is an icon. And look how little this thing is. Lots of growing to do. They don't grow large, but this is certainly a baby, well in need of a mate for sort of 3 years down the road for sure. We have one on order. Let's see how it goes. What a fantastic snake, the grey-banded king snake. And on video, looking as dull and drab as one ever could. Check out further videos. Let's hope we get some of this guy freshly shed, looking at its very, very best. Absolutely beautiful. One last beauty. Again, pushing the boundaries of this video, but it's still only small. This is a Brazilian rainbow boa, one of a pair we've got here. You can kind of see a little bit of the iridescence there. Absolutely famed for their iridescence of their scales. Not just that they got a most wonderful pattern. They have these rainbow hues all over, shining in the sun. This is under artificial light, and it's not a sunny day, so there's no point me taking her outside. But in the sunshine, this has the utter wow factor. You really have got a wonderful pattern snake anyway, covered in a rainbow iridescence. Look at that. Again, another really, really wonderful species to work with. Really friendly, easy going. They do make a fantastic pet snake if you just want one or two snakes maybe. Really good choice because a rainbow boa doesn't get too big. A couple of meters or less really on the whole, and they're not a massive heavy-bodied python boa kind of snake. Nice and chunky, but not a large snake requiring the whole of your house to live in, that's for sure. And just the sweetest faces on the rainbow boas. Really are, like little puppy dog faces. Let's have a look. Come on, look at that. Look at that. What a beautiful, beautiful creature that is. How can you not love snakes if you actually get to learn a bit about snakes, understand snakes? These things are wonderful creatures, and wild snakes do not want to do you any harm at all unless you're absolutely terrifying them or hurting them. I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of our sort of baby snakes, if you like, that's growing on here. Please subscribe, it makes a massive difference. And I'm going to try and start getting a reptile video out weekly, along with a falcon video and of course the vlog. Look at that. I see this thing every day and I still think, wow, what a beautiful creature that is. Thanks for watching, guys.